what's up you guys? It's Simon. Welcome back to my channel. One thing I want to mention before we get into the main topic of today's video is do not forget, this week's going to be the last week for you guys to be able to vote on the 5K subscribers milestone video type thing. So if you want yours to win, be sure you go over to the community tab, vote, get your friends to vote if they're subscribed, you know, whatever. But now will be the last time you guys will be able to do that. So anyways, getting into the actual video, I went to a museum recently, and like everybody, I had to go through the gift shop, and while I was there, I saw this itty bitty, as it's titled, world's smallest paint set. And I am no watercolor artist, but it was so tiny and genuinely so cute. Like, this is adorable, and I had to paint something with it, so let's get into that. So here are the swatches, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised. I was expecting them to be way more chalky and awful, and definitely these are by no means like really well pigmented paints, but they are genuinely not as bad as I thought they were going to be. Like, at least you can kind of see some color. The only one I'm a little confused about is the blue. It's definitely a little more desaturated on camera, but even in real life it's pretty gray. So I'm really excited to see how that turns out. I don't really know if I'm going to use the blue, to be honest. One thing I will also mention is that I'm a little scared to mix colors, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but the pans are pretty small. Like, they're really tiny, and it's hard to get pigment off of just the individual pans, so I can't imagine how it's going to be for me to try and mix colors. So I'm definitely going to be doing that off camera, but hopefully we can get something good out of these. Okay, so just like with any video of this nature, I like to do a little speed paint and then tell you guys what it was like to actually use these materials. And I have to say that I am honestly genuinely surprised with these teeny tiny little watercolors. When I first bought these, especially considering the time and place and location in which I bought them, which, in case you forgot, is literally a history museum gift shop, I was expecting little to no quality from these. Like, I wasn't even really expecting like Crayola quality, because Crayola watercolors are actually really not that bad. When I tell you I was expecting the worst of the worst, if you are an artist or have ever breathed near a family member and expressed any form or interest in art in any variety, I am almost certain that you've received one of the devil boxes of the world's worst art supplies in the entire world. They mean well, but they're just awful kits. And in those kits, there are watercolors that I like to refer to as the LaCroix of watercolors. And what I mean by that, if you're a LaCroix enjoyer, please plug your ears, because I am about to drag you to death. They are bad. The LaCroix are awful. Like, literally, when I first had one, I took a sip and then immediately spit it out because I thought it was poison. I was certain that that wasn't how they were supposed to taste, but they were, in fact, just like that. I literally, like, the amount of carbonation and then the immediate lack of flavor was just like, whoa, that can't be food. That can't be okay to drink. And while I can't attest to the health aspects of a LaCroix, I can tell you that if it says it's peach flavored, it should taste like a peach. And it doesn't. It tastes like someone maybe across the block is thinking really hard about a peach, like really hard, and you are tasting their thoughts. It is not by any means a flavor. So yeah, the reason that I refer to them as the LaCroix of watercolors is those things are so unpigmented that literally there is no way, if you look at the paper for a really long time, maybe you could perceive that color as blue or whatever color it was that you laid down, but honestly, it's just wet paper. And these are not that. Luckily, these are actually surprisingly pigmented. I will say there are two different colors that really shocked me when I first went into using them. The initial swatches, honestly, I wasn't too impressed with. I mean, they were pretty decently pigmented for being what they were, but I was not expecting as much color as I got when it came into the final illustration. So the first color that really shocked me was the red. I put the red down for her shirt, and the instant the red hit the paper, I was like floored. I was like, that's definitely red. I was honestly expecting a really faint, like reddish pink color, but it was a delicious strawberry red, and I was really pleased with that. And then the next colors that impressed me were the brown and the black, because if you guys are here or were here or saw at some point my previous dollar store art supplies video where I tried watercolors in that as well, it took me a really long time and a lot of paint and different colors for me to mix the perfect dark reddish brown shade that I wanted for that character's hair. And this, it literally was just brown and black. That's it. Those two colors, and it wasn't muddy or grayed out or desaturated at all. Like, I don't know if it's like a red toned black or what. The swatch obviously just kind of looks gray. It looks like it's a black, but it was a really rich color, and I only used those two, and I was really impressed with the color. Like, I was so happy. I think I used 4 other paints in the previous video to get the color that I wanted, and this was literally just those 2, and it was great. And also, again, very pigmented. Like, it took me not long at all to get a good wash of colors down for these paints. So yeah, I was really impressed with that. One thing that does confuse me, I don't know if it's the pigments or the type of paint, something in their structure. Something that really differed from the dollar store art supplies video was that these ate up the ink for this piece. I'm not sure why, because I used the exact same paper that I used in this previous video, or in that previous video, for this piece. And while at first, at this point in the illustration, you can't really tell, but by the end of it, you will start to see that there were almost no lines. It might show up more on camera, but in person, I almost could not see her nose, and I had to go over it with some ballpoint pen in the end to just make sure that you guys could actually see everything. But as for the colors themselves, it looked really pretty. Like, everything was really nice. The only thing I really had to do was add some subtle shading, just because I am not a watercolor artist. There are many mistakes that I made in this piece. For example, when I started painting her eyes, I don't know if you guys noticed, but it definitely did bleed into her skin. I'm not the best at understanding when I need to put washes down, how long I need to wait, what types of colors you can put near each other without worrying about bleeding. When I put that green down, I fully expected nothing to happen. I assumed they were going to stay in their original spaces, and that clearly was not something that occurred. But anyway, it didn't take me too long to figure out how I wanted to use these. One other thing that I want to mention is that I don't know what it was about these watercolors. I don't know if it was just like the vibe that I was getting from the palette shape, or if I was just kind of coming off this recent wash high I was on. I haven't done like a ton of wash illustrations, but I did finally finish this one little ladybug that I started as a test, because I'm so precious when it comes to character illustrations, but I've never painted a ladybug before, so I figured I would allow myself to be reckless and not super tight and neat with my painting, to kind of just experiment with the medium, and I was so in love with it at the end of it. It's like one of my favorite pieces. It is up on my Etsy shop. It's really small, just a little pink ladybug, and she was so cute. So yeah, I don't know if it was me using brushes for that piece or what, but these were super comfortable to use with brushes. If you are unfamiliar with my channel, I never use brushes, especially for watercolors. I'm someone that is a chronic user of the water brush pens, just because for me watercolor is so complex with things like how much water you need to use, the brush type that you're using, the shape, and all of that. I don't know if that's actually true or not. If you're a regular watercolor artist, I'm sure you can use literally whatever. But for me, I find it so hard to use actual brushes and be comfortable with watercolors. But for some reason, I had no problem doing so with these. I didn't even realize that I hadn't used my tried and true water brush pens until the very last second. Like, when I tell you I was in the middle of editing this, and then I suddenly realized, like, hey, why
Did I use brushes for this? I'm not sure. But yeah, I overall was really impressed with these. I had so much fun painting with them. And again, I was really impressed with the quality. The only thing that confuses me is what was going on with the pigments. Why did it eat the lines? It's the same ink, the same printer, the same paper. So it has to be something in like the binder or the structure or whatever it is that they use in the ingredients for these paints that differ somehow. But clearly there was a difference. I don't know if I was using too much water. I don't think that I was. And at this point, actually, in the illustration, especially if you look towards her eyes, you can see if you scroll back from the beginning of the video to this point, you can see like really it faded quite a lot. Her fingernails too are a pretty good example. Those started out as dark blue like on the strawberries, and now they're kind of like a light grayish color. It sucked up so much of the pigment from that, but it actually didn't move that color around really. Like with the other piece, it would take the blue from the line art and kind of smudge it around, and it would bleed into other areas. But this just, it kind of, you know, it disappeared. It whispered away. It's very odd. Hello, airplane. Nice to see you. Anyways, so yeah, I'm not exactly sure why it decided to do that, but other than that, I am pretty pleased with the end result. These were super fun to use. I would highly recommend them for somebody that's maybe wanting to get into watercolors. I wouldn't say that these are artist grade by any means, but they're also definitely not student grade, which I think for me personally makes them like the perfect kind of introductory watercolor if you're someone that is very precious with your supplies and is, you know, someone who's really afraid of messing up, you know, supplies that are kind of expensive and don't want to get like a big set of Sakura kois or something like that. Like this set was like $340 something, and I got it at a gift shop. I mean, if you see it, grab it, because at the very least there's something that will be fun for, you know, maybe a young artist, or again, anybody that's wanting to get into watercolor but is a little scared to put some money on that, because it could be terrifying to spend a bunch of money. Like me with gouache, I spent so much money on that Sibylline kit, and I'm scared to use it still. I started using the the jelly gouache set. And so I really like that. So maybe you guys will see a gouache video from me sometime soon. I'm not sure. But we're getting close to wrapping up this piece. I'm going to run you guys by a little, I'm gonna mix some colors off camera, as I tend to do. I might mention that in the next clip. I don't know if you guys can tell I'm really rushing this voiceover. I ran into some major technical issues midway through editing this video, so I've kind of had to scramble it together. But yeah, I hope you guys still like it, and we'll move on to the finishing touches. Okay, so here is how she's looking so far, and then just like with my last affordable watercolor video, I will be finishing her off with some colored pencils that are obviously going to be Crayola brand, because the intention behind these videos is just to show that you don't need big fancy, emphasis I suppose on the big fancy art supplies to make good art. So yeah, I'm gonna go finish her off and I'll show you guys the end result here in a second. So yeah, this is the end result of me using the world's smallest paint set. And honestly, again, I am shockingly surprised with the end result. You can see here where I tried to fix the line art issue with some ballpoint pen and also some like felt really cheap fine liner. And while I'm not like a big fan of it around her bangs here, I think in a lot of areas, especially around like her arms and stuff, when I finally decided to make the switch to a regular ballpoint pen, that it's really cute. Like, I think she's still pretty adorable. The background I did not do with these paints. I actually did them with gouache, which isn't necessarily the most beginner art supply, but you can get the same exact result with like 50-cent Apple Barrel acrylic paints. So if you need a cheaper alternative, definitely just any old acrylic paint will do, but my gouache was closer to me, so that's what I did. But yeah, anyways, this is the end result, and I think it's really cute. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next week's video will be the 5K subscriber milestone. I think there is one other potential video that might be prior to that, but I am gonna be making
I am going to be making the decision next week. So yeah, really excited about that. Don't forget to go and vote if you want yours to win. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.